Hi there. I recently made an hour-long video examining how a black actor was cast as Corlys Velaryon in House of the Dragon, and how I don't consider this a particularly big change that conflicts with the internal rules of the storyverse. But a lot of people pointed out to me that the type of person, casual fan, who is upset about this won't have the patience to watch an hour-long video. Can you make a short bullet point version? So as a thought experiment, here goes. 7 points. Point 1. This is a change from the books, but a relatively minor one, comparable to when they made the pirate Salador San black, because people from the Free Cities are racially mixed. Point 2. Corlys's physical appearance is actually never described in the books, and though it is implied he's white based on context with his children, the point is his physical appearance was treated as irrelevant, that it wasn't really part of his characterization, as a strong emphasis. Point 3, and this is the biggest part of the hour-long video that I spend a lot of time discussing and examining, medieval people didn't have the same concept of race that we do. They didn't have a concept based on physical appearance, a concept of a unified white race compared to a black race. That is a social construct. It was invented in the 1500s to try to retroactively justify the transatlantic African slave trade. If you actually look through the literature of medieval or even Roman people, they barely remark on the physical appearance of other ethnicities. Their conception wasn't based on appearance so much as the subtle level of culture zones. Religion and language were a part of this, but much more often it was the subtle things such as manner of dress, what you ate, cultural behaviors and customs, subtle things. It wasn't black versus white, but my local clan versus everyone else. The result was that the ancient Romans considered black-skinned Ethiopians and white-skinned Germanic barbarians to both be equally foreign. Point 4. In the fictional world of Westeros, the Valyrians also kind of have this view just taken to a ridiculous extreme due to their obsession with brother-sister incest marriages to keep the bloodline pure. They never marry out of the clan. At a very literal level. Marrying any foreigner for a Valyrian would be falling short of the brother-sister incest goal, regardless of whether they're a black-skinned Summer Islander or a white-skinned Andal from Westeros, because the Valyrians are themselves foreigners who came in an invasion. And yet, we have cited examples, even before the Dance of the Dragons, of Targaryens and Velaryons marrying local Andal families. Alyssa Velaryon's mother was an Andal. Corlys's wife, Rhaenys, has black hair because her mother was a Baratheon. So clearly, even the Targaryens and Velaryons weren't 100% strict about marrying foreigners. Any foreigner. They wouldn't make a distinction between black and white foreigners. They don't consider the Andals the same race as them. Point 5. It would raise some contradictions. I'm not just blindly following this. It would raise some contradictions if they say that the Velaryons were always black for centuries, but I don't get the impression that's what they're doing based on the mixed crowds of black and white people we're seeing at the Driftmark set. I think they're saying that Corlys's specific mother was black, maybe even his grandmother, which, if you look at a family tree, wouldn't affect the rest of the family, wouldn't affect how they intermarried with Targaryens. There are multiple branches of the Velaryon family tree. Corlys is the oldest one. This wouldn't affect everyone else. This is sort of like people saying, I'm worried that in the English crown these days, I'm worried that Meghan Markle, being a woman of color, will affect her niece Charlotte. How? She's not a direct ancestor. Point 6. A few quotes from the books heavily imply that some of the lower-ranking Valyrian families out in the provinces away from the capital region weren't as strict about blood purity. For example, the quote about Pentos. And think about like the British Empire or French Empire. This is like Barbados compared to London, or Haiti compared to Paris. Or how the Roman Empire, this is like Romans living in Britain and occasionally intermarrying with the locals. When you have a big, large colonial empire like that out in the provinces, and they say in a quote about Pentos, well, they weren't as strict about blood purity there. There are counterclaims pointing out it does say most Valyrians, even the lower ranking ones who weren't dragon lords, did follow the incest rule. Well, then there's the response, most. It didn't say all 100% of the time. Issue is that Martin never really described Valyria's society in very extensive detail, so there's some fuzziness, but there's some quotes to back this up. We're pointing to the Pentos thing, even the quotes saying even the lower ranking ones below the Dragon Lords did follow the blood purity rules. Well, it says most of them did. There's always exceptions. And if this is just Corlys's own mother or grandmother, this is after the doom of Valyria. Valyria doesn't even exist anymore, and the Targaryens themselves are marrying Andals. So it's a bit fuzzy, but there's a few quotes to back this up. Point 7. I am somewhat concerned about how this would affect the paternity subplot with Corlys's grandsons. That was my first thought when they announced this. Not, oh, he's black, but, well, this specific character has a paternity subplot. But that's us jumping to conclusions, because we're used to stupid writers like Benioff and Weiss, and the first thing that jumped to my mind was, oh god, they're going to make his grandsons black, so they'll make Alicent look like a racist for saying they're not really, I hate them, they're not really your children or something. It wouldn't make sense. No, smart writers who are sane people will probably cast white actors as Rhaenyra's sons who look nothing like Corlys, leading the accusation, I think these are bastards. They're white-skinned and brown-haired and kind of look like Harwin Strong if you think about that. He also is white-skinned and brown-haired. So that will be a problem if it happens. It hasn't even happened yet. So if they say the Velaryons were black for centuries, which would kind of contradict some things, and very much if they cast mixed-race actors, no, it's obvious they're Laenor is their father. That makes no sense. But they haven't done that yet, and we have no reason to think they're going to do something that stupid. So this is the short version. Please check out the full video.